Okay, everybody, welcome to our next lecture for Chapter 1. I've had to turn my webcam off because the recording service I'm using keeps placing my webcam image in awkward places on the slides. So until I get that figured out, you won't be able to see my beautiful bald head during these lectures. So let's talk a little bit. This next video clip, we're going to talk about some of the requirements of life. Maybe some things here you've never thought that much about. What does it take? What makes something living versus non-living, and what do living things have to do in order to stay alive? Okay, one thing about that's a necessary life function is maintaining boundaries. If you are a living thing, you've got to maintain an internal environment. And think about it. Human body, you've got to maintain a certain body temperature. You've got to keep certain levels of fluids inside your body. You have to absorb nutrients from the foods that you've consumed and keep those within your body. And so you have to have boundaries to do that. Also within the body, you have to have boundaries between different organs and even between individual cells within the body. You have boundaries so that you can separate, well, this cell type has these certain jobs and this cell type over here has its own jobs, and so you've got to have boundaries between them as well. So boundaries include things like your skin. That's a boundary between your body and the outside. Plasma membranes are cell coverings. You'll learn more about those during Chapter 3. Okay, another thing that a living thing must do, or at least can't say that all living things on a noticeable level move, but humans certainly do. We can also call that contractility. So for humans, movement is a necessary life function. You would not be able to survive if you could not move your body parts and contract your muscles. And then also you have to move substances around your body. Your heart has to pump blood throughout the body to circulate nutrients and oxygen gas. So movement is, of course, critical. Additional necessary life functions, responsiveness. Living things, such as humans, respond to their environments. You sense and respond to stimuli. Stimuli are things that your body detects, like heat, for example, and or odors, and then you're able to process that information and respond to it. Like the withdrawal reflex. That is when, like, if you stuck your finger on a hot stove and then without even thinking about it, you jerk your finger back. That is responsiveness to very high temperatures. Imagine if you weren't able to do that. You wouldn't survive for very long. Controlling your breathing rate. During different situations, your breathing rate has to either increase or decrease. And so that's an example of responsiveness as well. Digestion, as I've talked a little bit about on some other video clips. Living things have to take in nutrients and from their surroundings and use those nutrients for their own purposes. So you have to break down those nutrients, and you've got to absorb them and take them in. Non-living things are not capable of doing that. Metabolism, that term metabolism, now we're used to thinking about it as, if you got a high metabolism, you can eat whatever you want to and you don't gain any weight. You have a low metabolism, you tend to put on weight pretty easily. But really what metabolism refers to is all of the chemical reactions that occur in the cells of our bodies. So, and that is broken down into two categories: catabolism, which literally refers to breaking things down, and anabolism, which refers to building larger things from smaller parts. So your cells are very active. They have tons of chemical reactions taking place inside them, and some of those involve breaking things down that have to be recycled, or you're breaking down nutrients to harness energy that's stored in them so that the cell has a source of energy. And on the flip side, cells have to build all their parts, and those are your anabolic type reactions. Excretion. Living things, you have to be able to maintain a stable, happy internal environment, and so therefore you have to be able to excrete your wastes. Excretion means the removal of waste that your body has generated or waste that your body took in from eating and drinking substances, and your body's not going to be able to use those things, so you've got to get rid of those. Some examples are urea, that is a type of waste that your cells generate that you release in your urine. Carbon dioxide, your cells produce that constantly as a waste product, and you have to exhale that out of the body. And of course your feces, which you release from your intestinal tract. Reproduction, living things are capable of reproduction, non-living things are not. And reproduction can include something like a male and a female getting together and having children, but it also involves just one cell dividing into two and two becoming four, so that the tissues and organs in your body can grow or be repaired when they need to be repaired. Growth, living things can increase in size. Non-living things don't do that on their own. And you do that, living things do that by absorbing things from their surroundings and harnessing those and putting them together in different ways to build all of their parts so that they're able to grow. So it's pretty amazing when you think about how life happens, and it really kind of boils down to all of these different chemical reactions that are taking place, and it's amazing that our bodies and all living things are able to absorb things from their surroundings and build all of their different parts. All right, how about survival needs? As a human being, what do we need to survive? Of course, you need nutrients, and nutrients, that term refers to chemicals, molecules, and things like electrolytes. You'll hear more about those in chapter 2. We use those for energy as a human being. That's our source of energy, these chemicals that we take in from our foods, molecules, and also our cells build all their parts from these things that we take in from the foods that we've consumed, our nutrients. So a couple of different roles there. Nutrients include things like carbohydrates, fats, proteins, minerals, vitamins. If you look back on the back of a nutrition label, the next time you're eating food, something, you're going to see all of those things listed there. Oxygen gas, that is necessary. We'll hear more about in Unit 2 why we need oxygen gas more specifically to survive, but it's involved in all these chemical reactions that take place to allow you to use the energy that's in the foods that you've consumed. You got to harness that energy and use that to power all the things that your cells have to do to require energy. And so oxygen gas, as it turns out, is very, very involved in those processes. ATP production, if you see that phrase over there, ATP is a type of molecule that essentially all living things use as like their gasoline, their fuel molecule. They store energy in that molecule and use it when they need a source of energy that can be used efficiently. Additional survival needs, water. Our body's water makes up, it's the most abundant chemical in the human body. I'm sure you guys know that already. We're a water-based organism. And all these chemical reactions we were talking about, they take place. Those molecules are getting together and interacting with each other in a watery environment. The human, now not all living things maintain a normal body temperature, but we as humans do. Why do we have to keep our human body temperature at 98.6 Fahrenheit? Well, as it turns out, all those chemical reactions we were just mentioning, they wouldn't work properly. They wouldn't work fast enough if our body temperature did not stay right around 98.6 Fahrenheit. If you go too high or you go too low, those chemical reactions either stop working or they're too slow, and then you can't survive when that happens. So our bodies actually have to maintain a normal body temperature internally. Even something like atmospheric pressure, when you hear about the barometric pressure on the news, our bodies are adapted to normal atmospheric pressures that we have here on the surface of the Earth. And if you get outside of that normal pressure range that we have here on the Earth, your lungs would not be able to inflate and deflate properly, which would limit the gas exchange in the lungs. You wouldn't be able to exchange oxygen gas and carbon dioxide gas between the lungs and the blood. And guess what? You would quickly die if you were unable to do that. And you see evidence for that. You know, if you're flying on an airplane and the cabin in the aircraft depressurizes because you're up so high in the sky, gas masks drop down so that you have a source of adequate oxygen while that is going on inside the airplane cabin. All right, so the next video clip, we're going to talk more specifically about how the human body maintains its stable internal environment. We've kind of been hinting around about that in this video lecture, and we'll talk more about that in the next one.